Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. And it's really hot in the UK at the moment. It's during a heat wave. I don't do the heat but it is what it is. Today I'm going to go through my July wrap up. I know I'm a little bit late as we're like almost mid-August. No, we're mid-August. We're 100% mid-August. So I'm just going to pop through the books that I went through this month. I read 19 books in total and let's get into it. So the first book I started off the month with was Iron Widow by Zirin J. Azao. I'm sorry if I completely butchered that name, I probably did. Now this one won my Triad chapter, Illumicrate versus Fairy Loot challenge. This was an Illumicrate book and Hannah has kindly, well, I've swapped a Fairy Loot book with this one. And this follows Zetian, whose sister dies, and well, she considers her murdered, and yeah, she's right. And this is kind of like a dystopian kind of like futuristic world, China, with what they call these chrysalis, which are these bodies of these alien creatures, and they've been like roboticized, and with the power of like your minds, like the pilots can pilot these big robotic corpses. But Zetian is a concubine pilot, and she follows in her sister's footsteps to murder the pilot that killed her sister. It's a wonderful story. I love Zetian a lot. There's a polyamorous relationship in this. I love it. So this one got 5 out of 5 stars. First book of July. Great. Can't recommend this one enough. Then I listened to The Beast by Katie Roberts, which is of course the Wicked Villain series. These books are spicy, and this one follows Gaston, Belle and the Beast in a polyamorous threesome relationship. And I'm going to be honest, I really like this one. I liked Gaston more than Beast. But yeah, if you know Katie Roberts, and I don't really need to explain it to you, it was a good time. Oh no, it's catching. But it really is a good time. Then I read Skin of the Sea by Natasha Bowen. This is a mermaid Nigerian folklore story, I think, where the goddess of the sea mate the Mami Wata, who are mermaids. They are slaves that have died at sea, all female, and it follows one of them as she saves a slave instead of taking his soul down to the depths. And it's very sad, but it's also super duper interesting. We see a lot of the Nigerian folk tales and like a lot of like the gods, the monsters, the crazy creatures. It's really fun. I really like this. Typically I'm not like the biggest fan of mermaid stories, but this one was really, really beautiful. So I can't recommend this one enough. So I then moved on to something that's been on my TBR for a while, and that is Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. I also read this month Starsight, Skyward Flight, and also Cytonic, all by Brandon Sanderson. Now, Skyward follows a ragtag group. It starts off following Spencer, who is the daughter of a traitor, and they live on this planet that they live underground because they are like trapped by these aliens, and they're learning to fight back. So these aliens are called the Krell, who you kind of learn more and more and more about, but Spencer wants to become a pilot, but because she's the daughter of a traitor who he ended up shooting at his own forces, she doesn't think she'll ever make it. And then we follow her as she does become a pilot. Well, at least she's learning to be a pilot in this one, and it's just really great, and I really enjoyed it, and the whole series is fantastic. Skyward Flight is the short stories which follows the adventures of her other crew, but it's really, really fun, and it goes like in tandem with the rest of the stories, and you kind of have to read them as you go. But I really enjoyed Skyward, like the entire trilogy. Like I think they all got 4.5 stars. I then picked up A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik, and I really like this one. I love the magic school vibes. I love the danger. I love the school setting, and I really like the main character. I didn't mind the romance because like it's just sort of sprinkled in there, and I can't wait until I can read the second one, which I need to get my hands on soon. Then I listened to the next two Katie Roberts, which is The Sea Witch, which is Ursula and Ariel, which is a lot of fun. Again, it got 4 stars. And then Queen Takes Rose, which is Maleficent and Aurora. Couldn't remember her name then. And again, that was a good time, for 4 stars for them. Then I read Hide by Kirsten White, and this one I'm so torn by because the vibes, the spooky dooky abandoned theme park dropped in the middle of nowhere. You don't have your phone, you don't have contact with the outside world. You just have this group of strangers that you've been dropped off with, and you are under the impression that they're going to win a prize. And when that all gets revealed, and like, I didn't really believe the monsters. That was the letdown with this, to be honest. But like, before you knew what the monsters were, it's good, and I think it is vibes, but I don't think it deserves some of the criticism it is getting. I do think people should give this a go, but this got a 3 stars. It is spooky, but it's not like terrifying, which is what I thought people would think it would be. Then I picked up The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri. Now, this is marketed as a sapphic YA fantasy. It is and it isn't. So the sapphic romance that's in this has hardly started by this point. It is there, but you really have to search for it, you know? Like, really work hard to get to it. And I think as a setup for a sapphic romance, it's actually very good. But I don't think that should have been the selling point, because the story is very fascinating and it follows a maid and a princess. And the maid had escaped this big brutality at the hands of like the invading government, essentially. But it actually turns out that it was the guardians of these children who basically can go into the river and be blessed with powers, and you are thrice born, and your powers grow every time you go through the ordeal, and you can die from it. It's very dangerous, but it's about like spirits and stuff, and it's really good. I really enjoyed that. I love the lore. I love the idea of like how hard it is to get up this mountain to get to this beautiful, like, it's like a little castle. I don't remember, but the princess, basically those children burn, and then the government decided that was how all women should be blessed, I guess, and then lots of women are killed, brutally murdered, and the princess is like, I'm not having this, and her brother is the emperor, and he's really cruel and horrible. She has another brother who was supposed to be the emperor, but he was like, no, I want to become a priest. So I mean, there's like loads of intricacies. It's quite political, but I actually really like this, and this again is the lovely and limited edition that my friend Milan gifted me, which was really nice of her. So thanks, Milan. This one got a 4 stars. I was disappointed though with the lack of sapphicness there was in this. I wanted it a bit more in my face. I then listened to The Companion, which was a recommendation to me by Hannah from Lynette M. This followed 3 transgender characters in historical fiction. I can't remember the exact dates, but it's like a polyamorous relationship between 3 of them, and yeah, it's an interesting one with looking at like transgender identity in the context of like high society, and they live out in the country, and it's all very good. So I really enjoyed it. I gave that one 4 stars. I then listened to The Twisted Ones by T. Kingfisher, and oh, that was spooky. It follows this young lady. I'm really bad with character names. And she goes to her grandmother's house, and her grandmother recently died because her father asks her to go and clear out this house. And to her horror, her grandmother was a hoarder, and it's disgusting and gross. And her grandmother had a friend who had also lived there but had died previously, and she finds that his room is the only room that doesn't have piles of crap everywhere. So she like makes her home there, and she finds his diary, and then lots of creepy things start to happen, and like she goes for walks and she finds these really creepy statues, and the statues seem to correlate with what her grandmother's friend had written in his diary, and creepy things begin to happen. She has some lovely neighbours though who are like, oh yeah, no, we'll look after you, and they genuinely are nice. And she has a dog as well, and the whole time I was like, is the dog gonna die? No, the dog doesn't die, which is a nice change for a horror, but boy, it was spooky. Like, listening to an audio, it was great. I then read, for a bit of a change, Such Big Teeth by Gabby Hutchinson Crouch. Now I borrowed this from Hannah. This is the second of the Darkwood series. I don't know why I've got that, but it's the second of the Darkwood series, and this was a little bit disappointing. I like that the sapphic relationship that I spotted in book 1 came to fruition. I'm not going to say too much about this, but the first one is charming, and it was such a surprise, and it was so funny, that this one just kind of fell a little bit flat. Like, the villains, there's 2 villains, One of them isn't really a villain. She's just kind of like a grumpy old lady who wants to be left the fuck alone, which we love. And the other one, I just was like, you revealed her so late in the plot. Like, I don't understand. It's not bad by any means, but this one got 3 stars, whereas the first one got 5. So a little bit of a drop, but we'll see what the glass coffin holds for us, which is book number 3. I then listened to Night of the Mannequins by Stephen Graham Jones. This one was just a bit weird. Follows a group of teenagers and mannequins. I really don't remember much about it. It was a short story. It was only a couple of hours on script. I just didn't really care, so that got 3 stars. Then I read Spark by Alice Broadway. This one suffered from sequelitis because Ink was such a shock because I wasn't aware of what I was going into, and it ended with such a bang. I expected more from this, and it just didn't deliver, which was really kind of sad. It got 3 stars. I will continue with the last one, which I think is called Scar. I wish this was better because Ink was amazing. I would recommend Ink, but the ramifications that came from Ink didn't really come to play, unfortunately. Then I listened to The Last Final Girl by Stephen Graham Jones, and I did not like it, which is really disappointing. Again, it got 3 stars. It was just so boring. Like, I didn't care. Whereas, like, My Heart is a Chainsaw was so fantastic and such good fun. I was disappointed with Last Final Girl. Stephen Graham Jones is a fantastic writer. Like, I really like his writing style, but I was disappointed by The Last Final Girl. And then, lastly, I read The Merciless Ones by Amina Fauna. Now, this was a fantastic sequel. I love Decca and her group of rebels. This kind of like picks up pretty soon after the Gilded Ones, and Decca is leading an expedition to try and retake the capital and rescue her friends from the training grounds. And it's kind of brutal, and Decca has definitely changed, and she learns more about who she is and more about the Gilded Ones themselves, and she starts to really question everything, like if she did the right thing or not. So, super interesting lore. Really like this one. I can recommend Gilded Ones and The Merciless Ones. What a fantastic sequel. This one got 4.5 stars, almost 5. It was very close to it. It was very close to 5 stars though. Really, really enjoyed it. I think Amina Fauna is a fantastic writer. Loved it. So, that was that. Those were the 19 books I read. Let me know down in the comments down below which ones you have read. Let me know which one's your favourite or which ones you want to pick up. If you've got nothing else to say, put a little sunshine emoji to let me know you got this far. And I'll see you in my next video. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.